Surprise to you that Donald Trump hasn't invited Keir Starmer to his inauguration in a few days' time, and the Labour Party come out and go, hey, it's perfectly normal for a foreign dignitary not to be invited. I'm not sure if it is. One of their top strategic partners, it's not that he doesn't even attend, he's not invited, hasn't got a ticket, haven't kept a...
Scene was set in Washington, D.C., the White House bathed in its usual grandeur. Cameras lined the press room, reporters from around the globe crammed shoulder to shoulder, and television networks prepared for what was expected to be a routine joint press conference. Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer was making his first official visit to the United States since becoming Britain's leader, and for many, this moment was meant to symbolize a reaffirmation of the historic bond between the two nations. But what unfolded instead was something no one could have predicted. As Starmer stood at the podium beside former US President Donald Trump.
So I want to be clear at the outset, against the backdrop of these dangerous times, the idea that we must choose between our allies, that somehow we're with either America or Europe,
who had returned to political prominence and was once again dominating headlines, the atmosphere changed dramatically. What should have been a diplomatic show of unity turned into one of the most shocking and talked about moments in modern transatlantic politics. When it was Trump's turn to speak, his tone was sharp, unapologetic, and fiery. In front of millions watching live on television, he delivered words that stunned not only the room but the entire world. "I have to be honest," he said, pausing as the cameras zoomed in. "I don't respect what Keir Starmer is doing for Britain. I don't think he's strong. I don't think he's fair to his own people. And I don't think he's the kind of leader the world can rely on."
It is pretty embarrassing for Britain to have the special relationship that we have, and everybody knows we have it with the United States of America, but Donald Trump has seen fit not to invite Sir Keir Starmer, no doubt because of his views on Donald Trump, no doubt because of David Lammy's sayings on Donald Trump, maybe indeed because of Sadiq Khan's protestations about what a horrible man Donald Trump is. You know, you can't mess around in politics.
The silence that followed was deafening. In that instant, Trump had brutally rejected one of America's closest allies, not behind closed doors, not in diplomatic language, but on live television in the heart of the White House. Reporters scrambled, microphones picked up frantic whispers, and Starmer's face remained composed but tense, the kind of expression that revealed more than words ever could. For a prime minister who came to Washington hoping to project strength and partnership, being dismissed so publicly by one of the most controversial and influential political figures of the modern era was nothing short of humiliating. The fallout was immediate. Within minutes, social media lit up. Clips of the speech spread across Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube, with hashtags like Trump rejects Starmer and White House shock trending globally. Some praised Trump's blunt honesty, claiming he was simply saying what many believed about Starmer back in Britain. Others condemned the former president for breaking every rule of diplomatic courtesy, arguing that this kind of rejection weakened the West at a time when unity was needed more than ever. But the real drama lay not in the headlines, but in the symbolism. For decades, the special relationship between Britain and the United States has been described as unbreakable, a bond forged in war, strengthened in peace, and preserved through political differences. Yet here, in front of the world, Donald Trump shattered that image with a few ruthless sentences. And in doing so, he left Starmer not only embarrassed on the world stage, but also vulnerable back home, where critics seized on the moment as evidence of his weakness. To understand why this mattered so deeply, we need to step back and look at the pressures already surrounding Starmer's leadership. Back in Britain, he has faced growing anger over policies that many feel are disconnected from ordinary people's struggles. Protests outside Downing Street have become an almost weekly occurrence. Political opponents accuse him of betrayal, of failing to live up to the promises that once carried him to power. And now, with Trump's rejection, those criticisms found fresh ammunition. If Starmer couldn't command respect abroad, his opponents argued, how could he possibly lead effectively at home? What makes Trump's words so powerful is that they weren't carefully constructed policy critiques. They were raw, emotional, and delivered in the kind of blunt, no-filter style that Trump has always been known for. He didn't speak like a diplomat. He spoke like a man unafraid to burn bridges, and that authenticity, whether you admire or despise him, is exactly what makes his words resonate. Starmer, for his part, tried to regain control of the moment. When it was his turn to respond, he kept his voice calm, choosing not to mirror Trump's aggression. He reminded the audience of the long-standing friendship between Britain and America, emphasizing the values of democracy, cooperation, and mutual respect. But even as he spoke, it was clear his words were being drowned out by the shockwave Trump had just unleashed. The headlines had already been written. The viral clips had already been shared, and the image of Starmer standing silently as Trump rejected him would be replayed for days, weeks, and maybe even years to come. For the millions watching, the press conference revealed more than a clash of personalities. It exposed a clash of styles, a clash of visions for leadership in the modern world. Trump represented the unapologetic, confrontational, and unfiltered style of politics that thrives on disruption. Starmer represented the cautious, measured, and traditional approach of a leader who believes in diplomacy above drama. And in that moment, diplomacy lost. Back in Britain, the reaction was explosive. Opposition MPs lined up to mock Starmer, calling him humiliated abroad.